Hey guys, let me just check and make sure that we are live. How is everyone? I'm gonna wait and just kind of wait a little bit for everyone to hop on. If you guys are not hopping on live and you're catching this on a replay, just comment down below replay. If you're in a live, just comment live. Um, Today, I wanted to talk about how to actually discover your ideal client avatar or your ICA. You're going to hear me a lot, like you're going to hear me say a lot ICA or just ideal client. And I just want to preface this whole live by saying that I had so much fun last week in talking with you all and just kind of getting to know what the pain points are when it comes to social media messaging and marketing. And I want to just say that you guys are not alone when it comes to kind of figuring out like who is your ideal client avatar, especially at the beginning. If you're just starting out your business, it's really, really hard sometimes to really understand the whole ideal client avatar concept. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to kind of go over why it's important to understand your ideal client avatar, and also how you can actually begin this whole process. Because honestly, guys, this ICA situation, this concept is a concept that continuously happens. It's a journey, it's a progress throughout your business. For me specifically, I started my business 6 years ago. And 6 years ago, my ICA was completely different to the ICA that I currently have and that I currently market to. We as we grow as business owners and we start actually getting into the groove of things and actually listening to your market, you'll start understanding that not just your business and your ideal client avatar, but you'll start recognizing that there are different pathways that you can take in your business. And for example, you might say, today I want to be this particular type of health coach. And a year later, after listening to your market, after hanging out with your clients at that point, after actually working with them, you might say, you might actually become even more niche down than you started, right? So I I don't want you guys to feel super forced or um, like I don't want you guys to get stuck in this whole ideal client avatar situation because it's it's something that you're going to actually change and just mold and form as you go throughout your journey as a business owner. What's more important to me um, as a coach and somebody that is going to be supporting you on going forward when it comes to marketing, what's important to me is that you guys actually understand that your mission and your whole calling, the reason why you're being a health coach today, the reason why you decided to take this journey, why you want to help whoever it is that you're going to be helping, is actually your calling. And it's almost like an obligation that you have because you have the skill sets and the knowledge and the experience to go out there and help people that need you, right? So to me, as a marketer who also has a soul-based or heart-centered business, that's more important than actually getting stuck in this whole ideal client avatar situation. It is important in the long run to kind of like drill down the general understanding of who your ICA is, because that's going to help you kind of polish your marketing messaging as you go throughout your business journey. So just to give you kind of like a little background story, when I started my business, I really didn't know who my ideal client avatar was. I just knew that I wanted to serve business owners, right? So if and I want to tell this story from my perspective, but I want you to sit back and as you're actually listening to me, I want you guys to actually kind of fill in the blanks and replace your story with mine, right? So when, for example, I didn't know who my ideal client avatar was. And I did a lot of research. I even had a business plan because I actually have a marketing degree. So in college, they tell you that you have to do a business plan and that you have to do market research and that you have to do um, focus groups, and you have to do all these really fancy terms for really just listening to your market and exploring your market. And, I did a business plan and I said, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is the kind of stuff that I'm really good at and that I feel passionate about. This is the revenue that I want to potentially have one day. And in the next 5 years, I see myself as this and that. And as I started, I put my website up. I, I put the about page, and I did all these, really fun things to me as a marketer. And I didn't get any clients. And even though I had an opt-in, I had a website, I had all my social media handles, and I just was hearing crickets. And so then I started actually looking through, workshops and courses and masterminds. Like, I really needed to figure out, like, why wasn't I getting clients? Because, how they say, if you build it, they will come. But typically that's actually not the case. That's actually not true. And especially for entrepreneurs in this age, we actually have to be a little bit more cognizant that once you build it, you have to go out there and tell people about it, right? So for me as a marketer, again, as a coach, I don't want you guys to get stuck in this whole ideal client avatar concept too much. I want you guys to kind of step forward into your business with kind of like your messaging, like your mission, your reasoning, your why at the forefront of everything that you do. And do not be ashamed of, like, 1 week from now, you're going to be coming back to this group and saying, hey guys, like, I was trying this messaging, but like this week I tried something else and I don't like the messaging that I did last week. I like the messaging that I did this week. Because again, things change often, especially in this particular environment that we're in right now. And you just want to make sure that you do not get stuck in trying to figure out who exactly is your ICA today. What I want you to understand is the reason why an ICA and the clarification of who your ICA is so important for from the marketer's perspective. And I want you to start working through those things. So the reason why it's important to know who your ICA is basically for one reason, and that's to figure out how you sell to them. Um, and we're talking about how you write social media copy, how you create the messaging on your landing page, how you send an email that actually resonates with people, or what you sell actually, right? I am a big fan of crowdsourcing products and things of that nature. Last week I spoke about an example of crowdsourcing. Like, if you have a Facebook group, as you start getting people to really trust you and like you and get to know you, you can literally just say, hey guys, what do you guys need from me? Here's everything that I know, and here's what I'm passionate about. Are there any tools that I can provide to you right now that you think you would need? And then you would create that product, and then boom, you get sales that way. So crowdsourcing, that's what crowdsourcing is. Essentially, you're listening to the market, you're tapping into your market, you're asking them what they need, and then you create the product based on what they tell you. So that gives you an increased chance of sales conversions rather than creating the product first and then going to the market and saying, hey, I built something, here it is, right? But typically when you're just starting your business and when you're just starting to kind of figure out your messaging and what you do, that's not feasible because you don't actually have an audience, right? So right now, the important part of all this is to actually get into the market and start telling people what you do. That will give you more insight as to who your ideal client avatar is. But before I get into all of that, because I start actually ranting and all of it, so that's why I got notes. I just want to say really quickly, the truth of the matter is you guys are offering things that are very similar, and there are probably thousands of health coaches out in this world that could offer exactly the same thing. In reality, when it comes to marketing, there are three ways that you can kind of take like the upper hand in this whole situation and get more people to actually buy from you, or just people to listen to what you're saying. So it's three things. The first thing is going to be your pricing, like price wars, or actually like offering lower pricing than somebody else. The second thing is actually getting to know your ideal client avatar better than the next person. And the third thing that would give you the most advantage would be is actually becoming the loudest in your market. So number one, I want you guys to scratch number one, which is like cutting your prices low, like making your prices lower than the competitor, because that is kind of like you're going to go down in a rabbit hole and it's not really worth it. You don't really want clients that are, buying into your thing just because you have lower prices than the next health coach. You want people to buy from you because they like you, because they know that, they trust that you got the tools that you can, that would help them, and also that you know they want to buy from your expertise, they want to buy from your story, they want to buy from you. You want those kind of clients, not the kind of clients that are looking for a bargain. So scratch number one, don't even think about that. Okay, so number two and number three are the two things that you want to focus on the most. So that's actually getting to know your ideal client avatar as best as you can, so that then you can become the loudest in your market, in your niche, in your, and what you're specialized in. Okay, in your story, because again, there are similarities of stories too, right? And there are similarities in the way that we package our message when we are marketing. So you want to make sure that once you have that ideal client avatar defined, that you can actually look in front of the mirror and say, oh, like this is who it is that I'm actually buying or selling to. Then you'll become the loudest. So these next couple of weeks, we're going to be going into what's, how to like publish social media content, how do you like create a whole marketing strategy for social media. But it's really important for me to wrap this up here with the ICA before we get into messaging and go through the whole system and the whole process of publishing and going out there and becoming the loudest. That's the last part, honestly. That's like the last step in the whole thing. So to wrap this thing up, when we talk about your ICA last week, I gave you guys some hacks in terms of reverse engineering the whole messaging, reverse engineering the definition of your ICA. I had an amazing, we had an amazing breakthrough with Samantha. We went over her ICA's objections, and we also went over the results that you as a health coach want to see your ideal client avatar have. You see how very specific that question is. It's not really like, I want you guys to really answer that question very specifically. Like, what is the result that you can provide? What is the result that you want to provide to your ideal client avatar? I want to make them have better, like lose weight. I want to make them have, more restful nights. I want them to get out of their, funkiness during the day, like whatever it is that you guys are, specialized in. I want you guys to really jot that down. And I really think that it would be even better if you have like a notebook that you title My ICA, and like just a mini little notebook, and you start journaling this thing, because again, your ICA changes as you start growing in your business. Okay, and it's really important, and I do this for myself too. I journal my ICA once a month. I should probably do it more often, but I've been in business for 6 years, and my changes happen probably like once a month or like once a quarter. And so I sit down and I kind of just brain dump everything that has happened in the last month, and how I've been messaging and what I've been seeing, the conversations that I've been having with people, with my current clients, with my past clients. And I start dumping all these thoughts. And I start taking notes on everything, like, why did this person buy from me? Where did this person come from? Who referred them to me? What was the conversation like? How did we start having the conversation of, how I could help them. Like these things, these conversations you guys should be having, even if you guys don't have a customer yet or have only a few customers, you want to make sure that you're having conversations with your market. So potential clients, take a look at them, keep on sharing content. Don't even worry about the kind of content you're sharing just yet. What I want you guys to do is have conversations, do the outreach. Hey, Emily, how are you? I hope you're having a great day. My name is such and such. This is what I do. And start a conversation, be social. And especially in these times right now that we're in, we want to have a connection with people. And since we can't have them person to person because of what's going on, I think that we're going to start seeing a whole lot more demand for social interaction online, which is a great opportunity for you guys to go in and serve people at the most human level possible by just reaching out to them on the DMs and saying, how can I help you? These are great times to actually do that and be human with your business and be customer centric. So, um, anyways, just going back to what I was saying, the main topic here. The journal is really important because once you start actually talking about, okay, the results, here are the results that I want my client to have with me. If they work with me, this is kind of like the dream thing that I would love to hear. Like, oh my God, Emily, I lost 30 pounds working with you. Like, that's what I want to hear, because that's what actually makes me feel good. That's what makes me feel like I'm actually making a difference in the world. This is what makes me wake up in the morning every single day and get to work. What is it that drives you to wake up and actually do the thing that you do, right? So it's results based. Like what results make me get up every single day and do the thing that I do? Then the second thing is the objections, and you want to just kind of like brain dump objections, as many objections as possible. Like you want to have more than 5 objections. And I don't want you to tell me pricing. Pricing is an obvious objection, guys. Everyone is going to have a very subtle touch thought of like pricing. How much does this cost? Is this worth it? But if you guys know your ideal client avatar well enough, the objection of pricing would be basically buried, because you're going to give them every single tool they need to make the decision of buying from you. Okay, so the objection of pricing should not be an objection that you list down in a journal. The other things that I want to talk to you guys about, and this is sort of like the wrapping up thing, right? Like the face of wrapping it up is, I want to know your why. So for example, if I sat with you for tea, right? Like let's say we're having tea in an afternoon and I say to you, what made you decide to be a coach? Like what was the moment you had that thundering epiphany, right? Like that epiphany that just kind of like broke you and you just said, I'm going to be a health coach. Like this is what I'm going to do. If I sat down with you and I asked you that question, what would your answer be? Like who was the protagonist or the main character in that story that you would tell me, right? Was it you? What were you experiencing? Were you experiencing mood swings? Was your hair falling? Were you feeling unhealthy? How did you feel? Like, I want you to tell me that story, journal that story down. Like, imagine, like Emily said, you're sitting down with me and, we're face to face. And I ask you, like, what made you decide to be a health coach? Like, tell me the story. Like, let's go deep. Like, tell me the whole story. I want you to write that down. Or if you're more of a person that talks really fast and you're just get really passionate, put it on a video. Okay. So just, get on a video, like record it. You don't have to go live. This is just for you. And you want to say something like, okay, well, what made me decide, the thundering epiphany that made me decide to become a health coach was when, and then go through that exercise. Like, what made you become a health coach? And sometimes it doesn't actually have to be you, right? Sometimes it may not have to be you going through the actual negative experience. The protagonist of your story, what could be somebody that you witnessed going through hardship, or through some stuff that made you really feel impacted by it. It could be a loved one, it could be a friend, it could be a family member. Samantha, you know, the video that she actually shared today and the actual workshop that she had on the weekend with Rachel is sort of like what the second example, right? It's like the second scenario where the reason why you became a coach wasn't really because of something that you personally experienced, but maybe more along the lines of getting influenced by external like forces or people that you love that are going through things or that went through things that made you angry, right? Or that made you frustrated, or that made you that feel like you had to do something about it. So then you all of a sudden have that actual why, right? That was your why. It doesn't have to sound fancy. It doesn't have to sound poetic. It doesn't have to be like extremely professional. Like, you don't have to write it like professionally, or you don't have to actually look into a marketer side of things. Just write down your why or record your why. And that's actually your why, right? Because if I were to ask you what made you decide to become a health coach, that answer should be the foundations of your why. You hear what I'm saying? So it doesn't necessarily have to be 100% your why, but that's the foundations of your why. And that foundation is going to help you market your message and your business. And it's going to take your marketing message to a whole new height if you actually just write down what made you decide to become a health coach. Okay. So the next thing is, so we're going through the scenarios, right? So scenario number one is, if you became a health coach because you were going through something. Scenario number two could be, you became a health coach because your loved ones or somebody that somebody else went through something that made you realize you needed to be a change in this world. Those are the foundations of your why. So after that, what you're going to do is essentially capture moments in your mind or in a journal or on a video, and just grab those chunks of memories, right? Because when we think about life, right, life is not linear, right? Like, sometimes you make a decision and you make a step forward, and then tomorrow or next week you might take 10 steps back. So life is not linear. In fact, there's many different paths you can take throughout your life, and those paths or those curves in life, right? Because life is, again, is not linear. Those curve points, when it goes down and it goes up and it goes down, it goes up, those curve points, you want to capture them in a journal. Okay. So what do I mean by that? So I'm going to go back to the story that I gave you guys while I was working with you guys last week in the workshop. So I'm a new mom. I have a 1-year old, and before I got pregnant, I was 130 pounds, and I was living my best life. And then I got depressed. Then I quit my job. Then I ended up becoming an entrepreneur. Then I got pregnant. And then there was, I was diagnosed with two aneurysms, and I was really sick. And then I got better. And, then I had the baby. Then I had no clue what the hell I was doing because I'm a new mom. I had to travel. After 8 weeks of having my baby with me, I had to travel to a convention for my business. And that was one of the hardest things that I did in my life. So, you know, if we're talking about success, my success wasn't linear. It wasn't that one day I said, oh, I want to be a business owner, and here I am. And now I'm successful and I'm doing all the things, and I'm a coach and I'm a consultant and I'm doing all these things. It took 6 years, and it was a lot of ups and downs, right? So if I was your ideal client avatar, you want to picture those ups and downs. So if you were the reason why you became a health coach, let's talk about those ups and downs. Like, So one day you were going really bad and you were losing your hair, you had mood swings, you were going through some shit, you had depression, you had this, you had that. And then one day you decided that you had to do something about it. Capture that moment. Why did you take that step? What changed in your mind? And also, what were you experiencing before that downfall? And then you go up, right? Then you're making changes, you're, running on the treadmill, and you're setting up schedules, and you're freaking, hiring a health coach, or paying for a gym membership, and you say you're going to do it, and then something happens. And what happened at that point that made you go back down, right? So those stories, those micro moments in your entire life story is, if you're scenario number one, you want to capture them and you want to collect them and then arrange them in your journal, right? Because those micro moments will become later pieces of your actual why. So we talked about the foundational part of your why, right? The foundational part is actually me asking you, what made you become a health coach? Was it something that happened to you, or was it something that happened externally and that you saw that made you want to become a health coach? Once you have that answer, that's your foundation. Then you want to start grabbing micro pieces of your memories or of the stories that you actually, that are important to you in your life, that are part of your decision of actually becoming a health coach, and just journaling them and just grabbing them and putting them in your bucket for later. Why? Because later down the line, when we start creating these content marketing strategies, and you have to figure out what to post on Facebook, for example, and what to do on lives, you're going to talk about those micro moments that led you to your macro realization that you have to change the world in this specific way. Does that make sense, guys? Um, so after, you know, after you capture those moments, you want to also kind of figure out, um, by capturing the micro moments, you're gonna start realizing something very important about your ICA, whether it's you or whether it's somebody else. You're gonna start recognizing that ICA had patterns all along, like questions or phrases like, "Oh, I feel bloated. Oh, I feel so tired today. Oh, I'm just not feeling motivated. Oh, I don't really want to hang out with my loved ones today." Or, oh my God, my hair is falling. Oh, I don't feel pretty. I wish I could fit my size 6 pants or some shit like that, right? So you have these pattern phrases. As you start capturing these micro memories or these micro moments of your life or that other person's life that made you actually want to become a health coach, you'll start recognizing pattern phrases, right? Like, again, like, "Oh, I feel tired," or, "Oh, I wish I was 30 pounds lighter," things of that nature. Those pattern phrases are really, really important, because once you recognize these pattern phrases, you'll be able to actually reverse engineer those phrases, right? So if you say, for example, like, oh my God, the ICA that I'm looking at my journal, and I remember phrases like, "I wish I could fit that size 6 jeans." So now you're going to reverse engineer that messaging and say to your ideal client avatar today, "Hey, do you wish to actually fit back into your size 6 jeans? Well, I have the solution for you." Because that person is not going to actually want to know how to eat less sugar, or how to replace sugar with this, and, the keto diets and everything else that y'all know about, because I have no clue about that stuff. What they want to know is how to get those results and how to get those pattern phrases out of their lives, okay? Because people buy for two reasons. They buy either because they want to go get away from pain, or they're trying to get to pleasure. And most of the time, based on the ideal client avatars that you guys are and based on your businesses, you're looking at people that are trying to run away or get away from pain, right? So take a look at your journaling, start the journal process, start like capturing those micro memories and, creating that foundational concept of your ICA, and start recognizing those pattern phrases that are making people feel some kind of pain. But it could also be pleasure, because sometimes um, it might be a woman who is extremely healthy and she loves yoga and she's eating well and she's doing all the things, but she wants to be a runner, or she wants to have six packs and she wants to feel good and sexy and she wants, it could be pleasure, but generally speaking, the audience from where I'm seeing it is probably looking at pain, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Again, you could fall under one or the other. It could be people running away from pain or walking away from pain, or people going into pleasure. So after you kind of capture those micro moments and start recognizing those pattern phrases, you'll start actually understanding a little bit more about that ICA language that we always talk about. We always say, talk as if you're talking to your ICA, and you're like, well, what the hell does that even mean, right? That's what that means. Once you start actually looking at your ICA this way and you start recognizing those pattern phrases, you're going to basically understand a little bit better how your ICA starts talking, or has been talking all along to you. Does that make sense? So I see a couple of people here on live, so I use StreamYard. I see somebody in here, but hey guys, just say hi down below. And let me know if you guys are finding value in what I'm saying. So anyways, after you recognize these pattern phrases, the next thing you're going to start recognizing after you start journaling this, more often, and you make a habit out of this, you're going to start not just recognizing the pattern phrases, but also you're going to start recognizing that these people hang out in certain places. And what that means is that some people might be looking at specific types of blogs. So for example, I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say I'm looking to get my daughter into a gluten-free diet because my husband has a gluten-free allergy, right? This is totally true. Like, I'm not even like making this shit up. So my husband has a gluten-free allergy, so I want my daughter to have a gluten-free diet. And so let's say that's your ideal client avatar. After you start recognizing the patterns, after you start journaling, after great after you create the foundational piece of your ideal client avatar, you start recognizing that this woman is probably looking at mom blogs, right? Because mom blogs typically have recipes for children. Then this woman is probably also listening to A, B, and C podcaster or influencer. Maybe she follows somebody on Instagram that is all about gluten-free diets and children, and maybe she loves reviews on YouTube that give them kind of like these natural alternatives for toys. So basically, you'll start knowing the locations where people are hanging out. And you'll also start noticing how they're looking for information. Because again, somebody that, let's go back to my husband. If he's having issues with gluten-free stuff, when he started having these issues, he was getting a lot of different symptoms. And these symptoms, obviously, this man didn't know it was a gluten-free allergy, right? He was actually searching or Google searching for the actual symptoms that he was having. So you'll start actually recognizing not just the pattern phrases, not just the location where they're hanging out and consuming content, but you're also going to be recognizing and pinpointing how they're looking for solutions and how they're actually typing for those solutions, right? Because people, like, there's one saying always, you want to describe what you do to people as if they're 5 years old. Oh, and it's so true. Don't ever think that people are going to be as well versed as you are, because they wouldn't hire you. You're the expert. So you have to go in and really deep dive into the foundational parts of what made you become a health coach. And then after that, you want to go ahead and start looking at those micro moments, those, just capture those micro moments. And I'm probably going to be saying that a lot going forward, because those micro moments are what are the pieces that are going to actually convert the most when it comes to social media, guys. So, yeah, so that's it, guys. I am going to disconnect here. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'm just gonna hang out for a little bit. Oh, hi, Rach. I see you. Yeah, make it simple in verbiage. And hi, Janice. And I think I saw Samantha there too. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this mini workshop. I just, like I said, can you give me an example of a micro moment? Yeah, I gave an example earlier. Essentially, I was giving my story. I was this really busy corporate gal. I was like 25 at that time. And I was super busy. I was going through panic attacks, and I decided to quit my job. And then after that, I started freelancing. And then after that, I um, wanted to have freedom. After that, I became a business owner, and I started gaining weight. And I started gaining weight and gaining weight and gaining weight. And then one day I said to myself, oh no, I gotta lose weight. So I made the decision to go get a membership at my gym. And then I made a decision to hire a health coach, right? So those micro moments, like the micro moments of being like, oh, that person, I remember that person making the decision of buying a gym membership. But then she took 10 steps backwards and started drinking soda and started eating chocolate, and something happened in her life that made her stop going to the gym after a week of going to the gym. Like, these micro moments are so important, because these moments are what makes you relatable to people, right? Because life is not perfect, life is not linear, guys. So again, when you look at life and you recognize that life is not linear, you got to look at the ups and downs of people and recognize them, capture those micro moments, and then regurgitate those micro moments back into the market, because those micro moments are going to be the ones, again, that will convert into a sale, into your email list. Those are the pieces of content that are going to be like, oh shit, like she knows me. She knows me. Like, she's talking to me, right? So yeah, so that's micro moments, guys. And as you start capturing these micro moments, you'll start recognizing patterns in phrases, patterns in where they hang out, patterns in how they look for solutions and things like that. Yeah, exactly like the soap opera sequence. And yeah, so that also helps you with your email marketing. Like, for example, I one of the people that I actually follow a lot, her name is Beth Kirby, and she is she's an entrepreneur. She's a creative entrepreneur that focuses on slow living and basically growing her business at her pace. And for me, that's super important. Her email newsletter talks about basically saying no more often than yes, because when you say no more often than yes, you actually start having more time for things that you love. And she goes through a whole tangent of her story, and like, when did she actually figure that out? She actually said that her mom told her that, and then she went through a whole story. But for me, because I'm her ICA, because one of the biggest things for me is to grow at my pace, um, her stories are really relevant to me, and I actually listen and read her stories. I actually take my time in reading her stories. And when you have audiences that take their time to read what you wrote, to consume what you create, those people are so easy to convert, because all you need to do is have a conversation with them and say, hey, what do you need? How can I help you? In times like this, how can I help you? And even right now, like, a lot of I've seen some messaging on this Facebook group about feeling a little bit icky about selling in this current time. I'm a little bit blunt, not as blunt as Rachel, but I will get there, I think. But just to put it bluntly, guys, if you knew your ICA, if you were certain about your why, you would not feel ashamed about selling what you have to offer, because you know that this would serve people. Whatever you have will serve people to the next level, will change their lives, will make some impact in their life today. So, journal today, tomorrow, share it with me, guys. Um, just share it with me. Send me a DM. Actually, just tag me on the Facebook group. If you guys want to start the journaling process, that's not a problem. Just, tell me what you guys have brain dumped. It doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to get fancy with this, guys. You don't have to get fancy with this at all. As a matter of fact, I feel like the best converting copy is the copy that actually comes from your heart. Like, you're basically just talking it out, having, like, there's a whole branch of marketing, like solely focused on storytelling. And maybe that's something like that super, like, later down the line that we can actually touch on. But this is part of that. Like, storytelling and creating your own brand is super important. And you start by actually going through these exercises and just journaling, and just taking note of the pattern. So feel free to comment below, just tag me, and yeah, just brain dump away, guys. Bye.